He claimed ignorance, yet his questions changed the world. In Athens, a city revered for its wisdom, one man defied tradition and demanded answers to life's most profound questions. His pursuit of truth made him a hero to some and a threat to others, culminating in a trial that would echo through the centuries. Who was Socrates, and why did his relentless quest for wisdom lead to his execution? Over 2,400 years ago, amidst the bustling streets of Athens, an unassuming man walked unnoticed by many. He wore simple clothes, commanded no armies, and claimed no divine powers. Yet, through the power of questions, he revolutionized how we think about morality, justice, and knowledge. In this video, we'll journey into the life of Socrates, a thinker whose ideas transcended time. His questions, first heard in the lively debates of the Agora, remain relevant today. We'll explore his path from a modest upbringing to his trial and execution, uncovering a legacy that has shaped philosophy, education, and governance for centuries. But who was Socrates? He wasn't just a philosopher, he was a challenger of norms. He sought virtue where others clung to custom. He exposed contradictions in ideas that others took for granted. His curiosity inspired admiration from his followers and unease among those in power, ultimately drawing the ire of a city that claimed to cherish freedom of thought. Through his relentless questioning, he exposed the flaws of those who claimed to be wise, leaving them unable to respond or defend their beliefs. To his followers, he was the wisest of all men, someone who sought answers to life's most important questions. To his enemies, however, he was a dangerous agitator, a man who threatened the very fabric of society. Socrates didn't write a single word, yet his ideas are etched into the foundation of human thought. His method of questioning, of challenging assumptions and pursuing deeper understanding, continues to inspire scholars, educators, and thinkers worldwide. But his journey was not one of triumph alone. His relentless search for truth put him at odds with the leaders of Athens, leading to his trial and a sentence that would shock the ancient world. Why did a man who sought only to understand the world around him meet such a tragic end? Why did a city that prided itself on freedom of speech and thought condemn its most profound thinker? And how does his legacy continue to shape the way we question, learn, and reason today? Join us as we journey into the life and legacy of Socrates, the man who dared to ask and paid the ultimate price for his courage. By the end of this video, you'll understand why his ideas continue to echo across centuries and why the unexamined life, as he famously said, is not worth living. By the later years of Socrates' life, Athens was a city in turmoil. Once the shining beacon of democracy and progress, it had endured the devastation of war and the chaos of political upheaval. In this fragile environment, Socrates' relentless questioning became more than a philosophical exercise. It became a threat to the established order. At the heart of his philosophy was one question: what does it mean to live a virtuous life? To Socrates, virtue was not inherited or granted by the gods. It was discovered through reason and self-examination. He challenged everyone, politicians, poets, generals, and craftsmen alike, to question their beliefs. His method was direct and uncompromising: uncover contradictions until only truth remained. But for the leaders of Athens, this was dangerous. To them, Socrates' questions undermined authority and sowed doubt among the citizens. His criticism of democracy struck a particularly sensitive nerve. Socrates argued that leadership required wisdom, not popularity, comparing democratic decision-making to letting an untrained sailor steer a ship. To a city recovering from years of strife, these ideas were unsettling. His growing influence among the youth only heightened these fears. Many young Athenians admired his sharp intellect and adopted his habit of questioning traditional values. His critics accused him of corrupting them, claiming he encouraged rebellion against societal norms. The accusations didn't stop there. Socrates was also charged with introducing new gods, a claim that struck at the very heart of Athenian identity. Religion was deeply tied to the state, and to challenge its traditions was seen as an attack on the city itself. Yet, Socrates defended his actions, asserting that his pursuit of truth was guided by a higher purpose. "I am like a gadfly," he explained, "sent by the gods to awaken a sluggish horse." These charges revealed more about Athens than about Socrates. The city, once proud of its intellectual freedom, had grown fearful of ideas that questioned its foundation. Socrates' belief in the examined life, his insistence that unchallenged beliefs were not worth holding, became a direct challenge to the city's leaders. And as tensions rose, it became clear that Socrates' quest for wisdom had placed him on a collision course with the powers of Athens. The trial of Socrates was unlike any other. Athens, once the proud cradle of democracy, brought one of its most brilliant thinkers to stand before 501 jurors. The charges? Corrupting the youth and introducing new gods. But to Socrates, the trial was more than a personal attack. It was a test of truth itself. When the proceedings began, Socrates did not cower or beg for sympathy. Instead, he addressed the court with calm conviction, turning the courtroom into his stage. His defense, later immortalized by Plato in the Apology, is one of the most profound statements of philosophy and integrity ever recorded. Socrates denied corrupting the youth, arguing that he had only encouraged them to think for themselves and question falsehoods. "If I am guilty of anything," he declared, "it is of teaching them to value truth over convenience." He rejected the accusation of impiety, explaining that his actions were guided by a divine inner voice, a moral compass that urged him to seek wisdom and challenge ignorance. "I am like a gadfly," he said, "sent by the gods to awaken this city." But Socrates' honesty was a double-edged sword. Many jurors saw his defiance as arrogance and proof of his guilt. When the votes were cast, a majority found him guilty. The sentence? Death by hemlock poisoning. Yet even then, Socrates had one final opportunity to save his life. The court allowed him to propose an alternative punishment. In a moment that stunned the courtroom, Socrates suggested he should be rewarded, not punished. He proposed free meals for life, a privilege reserved for Olympic champions. It was a bold statement of his belief in the value of his work, a declaration that he would not compromise his principles, even in the face of death. This act of defiance sealed his fate. With his sentence finalized, Socrates' friends and followers pleaded with him to escape. They offered to bribe the guards and secure his freedom. But Socrates refused. To him, escaping would be a betrayal of everything he stood for. He believed in the rule of law, even when that law was flawed. "I cannot break the laws," he told his followers, "for in doing so, I would destroy the foundation of the city I love." In his final moments, Socrates remained resolute. When the cup of hemlock was brought to him, he accepted it without hesitation. He spoke calmly to his friends, reminding them to care for their souls and to live virtuously. Then, with steady hands, he drank the poison. As the hemlock took effect, Socrates lay down, his breathing slowing. His friends wept, but Socrates reassured them, urging them to be strong. His last words were simple yet profound. "Crito, we owe a cock to Asclepius. Pay it, and do not neglect it." This cryptic statement, referring to the god of healing, suggested that his death was a cure, a release from the constraints of mortal life. Socrates' death was not the end. It became a powerful symbol of integrity, courage, and the unrelenting pursuit of truth. His willingness to die for his principles left an indelible mark on history, inspiring countless thinkers and reminding us all that the search for wisdom is worth any price. Socrates may have died in an Athenian prison, but his ideas continued to live on, carried forward by those who knew him best. Among them was Plato, his most devoted student. Plato's written dialogues, featuring Socrates as the central figure, preserved his teacher's philosophy and methods for future generations. In these works, Socrates is not just a character, he is a voice that questions, challenges, and inspires readers to seek deeper truths. Plato expanded on Socratic ideas, exploring themes of justice, governance, and the nature of reality. His Republic, a vision of an ideal society, owes much to the questions first raised by Socrates, and Plato's influence extended even further through his own student Aristotle. While Aristotle took a more empirical approach, focusing on observation and evidence, his work on ethics, politics, and science was deeply rooted in the spirit of Socratic inquiry. Beyond philosophy, Socrates' legacy shaped the way we think about education. The Socratic method, in which teachers ask probing questions to guide students toward understanding, remains a cornerstone of learning. It's used in classrooms, courtrooms, and even corporate boardrooms where critical thinking and reasoned debate are essential. Socrates also transformed ethics by linking knowledge to virtue. He believed that wisdom leads to moral behavior, an idea that continues to influence discussions about what it means to live a good life. From ancient times to today, his emphasis on self-examination has challenged individuals to question their beliefs and strive for greater understanding. Perhaps his greatest legacy is the courage to question authority. Socrates showed that challenging tradition is not an act of rebellion, but a necessary step toward progress. His influence is visible in the works of philosophers like Descartes and Nietzsche, in movements for justice and equality, and in every question we ask about the world and ourselves. Through his life and death, Socrates taught us that the search for truth requires both humility and courage. His story is a reminder that the unexamined life is not worth living, and that the pursuit of knowledge is one of the most powerful forces for change. As the sun set over Athens on the day of Socrates' death, the city lost more than a philosopher. It lost a voice that dared to challenge assumptions, question authority, and strive for a deeper understanding of what it means to live a virtuous life. Yet, Socrates' ideas would not die with him. His life is a lesson in courage, the courage to ask questions and to stand firm in one's convictions, even in the face of death. Socrates believed that truth was not something handed down by tradition, but something each person must seek for themselves. His famous declaration, "The unexamined life is not worth living," continues to resonate as a call to self-reflection and intellectual curiosity. Today, his influence extends far beyond the boundaries of ancient Greece. The principles of critical thinking, ethical reasoning, and self-examination that Socrates championed are woven into the fabric of modern education, governance, and philosophy. Every time we ask, why? Every time we challenge what is taken for granted, we are honoring the legacy of a man who believed that wisdom begins with questioning. Socrates' story is one of enduring relevance, reminding us that the search for truth is a timeless endeavor. Socrates' life raises questions that remain as meaningful today as they were over 2 millennia ago. What do you think about his philosophy? Was he a trailblazer of truth or a misunderstood figure ahead of his time? Do his ideas still hold relevance in shaping the way we think and question the world today? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear from you. If you found this exploration of Socrates' life inspiring, Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. By doing so, you'll join us on future journeys through the lives of history's most remarkable figures. We uncover the past to help you understand the present and to spark curiosity about the future. Thank you for watching. Remember, as Socrates said, the unexamined life is not worth living. Until next time, keep questioning, keep seeking, and stay curious.